I never thought I'd be the guy posting something like this, but here we are. My name's Jake, and I've been married to Emily for about 5 years now. We met young, fell hard, the kind of love you think will last forever. I thought I knew everything about her, or at least I thought I did. She's got this fiery attitude, always pulling some stunt or another, but I loved her, or so I told myself. The first signs that something was off started a few months ago. Emily became more distant, always busy, always on her phone, sneaking around when she thought I wasn't looking. She started to lie about where she was going, claiming she was working late or meeting friends, but I noticed her phone was more attached to her hand than ever. She'd get defensive if I asked her about her day, brushing it off with some bitchy remark or a fake laugh. I brushed it off at first. Maybe she was just stressed, or maybe I was imagining things. But then came the nights when she'd come home late, smelling like another guy, some kind of cologne I didn't recognize, a scent that didn't belong to me or anyone I knew. She'd act innocent, like I was crazy for even suspecting. Her lies got more elaborate. She'd say she was at the gym, or she was with her sister, or she was volunteering. I knew better. I could feel it in my gut. Something was going on, but I didn't want to believe it. I was hoping I was just paranoid, that maybe I was imagining the signs. But you know that feeling when you just no asterisk someone's hiding something. Yeah, that was me. Then last week I found out. I was cleaning up a little, just tidying the living room, when I saw a receipt sticking out from under the couch. Nothing special, just a local coffee shop, but what caught my eye was the time, 2:30 in the afternoon. I thought that was odd because Emily told me she was at her sister's house that day. When I looked at the receipt more closely, I saw the name on it was Ryan, and I froze. Ryan is her sponsor from her recovery group. They've been working together for months now, but I'd never seen her act so secretive. About him, I knew I had to dig deeper. I remembered her phone was sitting on the coffee table when she went to the bathroom earlier. I grabbed it, thinking maybe I'd find something, and I did. Texts, emails, all flirty, all inappropriate. Not just, "Hey, how are you?" but more like, "Can't wait to see you later," and "You're so sexy when you're vulnerable." I felt my stomach drop. I mean, I knew she was cheating, but seeing it laid out in front of me, it was like my entire world flipped upside down. The worst part, she's still acting like she's the victim. Whenever I confronted her, she started throwing her tantrums, calling me paranoid or jealous or insecure. She's got this bitchy, dismissive attitude, like I'm the problem for catching her in her lies. She said I was imagining things, that Ryan was just her sponsor, her recovery buddy, and that I was being insecure because I couldn't handle her success. Yeah, right. But I know better now. I saw the texts. I saw her sneaking around. And I realized I was living with a woman who's not just unfaithful but downright manipulative about it. The thing is, I'm angry, furious even. But underneath that, I feel betrayed, not just by her, but by everything I believed in this relationship. I mean, I was trying to fix myself, battling my own demons, and she was out there screwing someone else while I was doing that. It's like she cheered me on during my recovery, all fake smiles and fake concern, but behind my back she was doing this. And Ryan, her sponsor. I can't even wrap my head around the fact that he'd do this, knowing her history, knowing what she's meant to me. It's like a bad soap opera, but it's real, and I'm stuck here trying to figure out what the hell I do next. After the initial shock wore off, I spent the next few days in a fog of anger and confusion. It felt like my stomach had been twisted into knots, and every time I thought about her lying, cheating, and sneaking around with Ryan, I wanted to scream. I couldn't believe I had been so blind, so naive. I'd always thought Emily was a bit bitchy, sure, but beneath that sharp tongue was someone I thought I knew, someone I trusted. Apparently that trust was built on a lie, and now I was realizing how deep the betrayal ran. What made it worse was the way she reacted when I confronted her face to face. I was boiling with rage, clutching the receipts and texts I'd found. I told her I knew about Ryan, about the emails and the lies. Her response? She looked me dead in the eyes, and with that same bitchy smirk she always uses, she told me I was paranoid. That it was all in my head, that I was imagining things because I didn't want to accept that she had a life outside of me. She called me insecure, needy, even crazy. That was her go-to line. If she could twist the story enough, I'd doubt myself, doubt my sanity. I got so damn tired of her lies. She kept insisting she was just doing therapy stuff, that Ryan was just a sponsor, a mentor, nothing more. That I was overreacting, and that she deserved some space because I was controlling. The thing is, I know her better than that. I've seen her manipulative side, her willingness to lie and turn things around. She's always been a little bitchy, quick to dismiss my feelings, but now she was downright cruel. The way she dismissed my pain made me feel like I was the one causing trouble, while she was out screwing around behind my back. As I sat there, confronted with her lies, I started to feel this icy cold rage building inside me. I wasn't just hurt, I was furious. How could she betray me like this? During my recovery, I'd been working my ass off to stay sober, trying to build a better life for us, and she was out there with Ryan, pretending to be supportive while sneaking off to meet him. It felt like a punch to the gut every time I replayed her dismissive words, her fake tears, her innocent act. It was all a lie. That night I didn't sleep. My mind kept racing, trying to piece everything together. I knew I had to do something, something permanent. I couldn't just sit back and let her keep lying, keep sneaking around. The betrayal was too deep, the hurt too raw. I started to plan my next move, figuring out how I'd confront her again, how I'd finally get her to admit the truth. I knew that if I didn't act now, I might just lose it completely. Part of me wondered if I was overreacting, if I should just forgive her, forget this mess and move on. But deep down, I knew I couldn't. I deserved better than being played like a fool. I started to think about revenge, not in some reckless way, but in a way that would make her realize what she threw away. I wanted her to feel the pain she caused, to see that I wasn't someone to be taken for granted. So here I am, trying to piece everything together, trying to figure out what my next step should be. I still love her, or at least I thought I did. But love doesn't mean allowing yourself to be used and betrayed. I need to decide if I'll fight for this marriage, or if I'll cut her out of my life entirely. Either way, I know this isn't over. Not yet. The days that followed were a blur of restless nights and endless questions. I kept replaying everything I found. Her texts, her lies, that damn receipt from Ryan's coffee shop. I could shake the feeling that this was just the surface of something much bigger, something I hadn't uncovered yet. Every time I looked at her, I saw that bitchy smirk, that dismissive attitude, like she thought she was untouchable, like I was just some fool she could manipulate. By then, I'd made up my mind. I wasn't going to just walk away without making her feel what she'd done. I wanted her to understand the depth of her betrayal, the hurt she'd caused. It was decided. I was going to confront her again, but this time with a plan. I wanted to catch her in the act, to make her realize I wasn't some naive fool who'd accept her excuses anymore. I started setting up little traps, checking her phone when she wasn't looking, leaving my own phone around to see if she'd slip up, watching her every move like a hawk. I had to know exactly what she was up to, how deep this rabbit hole went. One night, I followed her. She said she was meeting a friend from her recovery group, but I knew better. I parked my car a few blocks away, watching her walk into some dingy bar. Downtown, my stomach twisted with anger. I stayed in my car, watching her through the window. She was sitting with Ryan, laughing too much, touching his arm, leaning in like they shared some secret nobody else knew. They looked so damn comfortable, so close. That image burned into my mind. I felt the heat of betrayal surge again. I didn't want to just confront her anymore. I wanted to catch her exactly where she was doing this in the act. I needed proof, undeniable proof, that she was lying, cheating, screwing around behind my back with Ryan. I couldn't just assume or hope. I needed to see it with my own eyes. The next day, I finally reached my breaking point. I couldn't take it anymore. I decided I'd go all in, confront her with everything I had, and demand the truth once and for all. I was tired of her bitchy denials, her fake tears, her lies. I wanted her to understand how deeply she'd screwed up, how much she'd betrayed everything we built. I was prepared for her to deny, to lie, to manipulate, because that's what she always did. But I was also ready to face the truth, no matter how ugly it was. That evening I called her on her bullshit. I told her I knew everything. I told her I saw her with Ryan, heard the things she said. Her reaction, she snapped. She started yelling, calling me crazy, jealous, possessive, all while her voice dripped with contempt. She told me I was imagining things again, that Ryan was just a good friend, that I was insecure because I was too busy with my recovery to notice how independent she'd become. She threw her bitchy attitude into overdrive, acting like she was the victim, like I was the one overreacting. And that's when the real anger kicked in. I saw her true colors, how manipulative and selfish she'd been all along. I could feel the rage boiling over, but I kept my cool. I told her it's over, that I couldn't do this anymore, that I was done being played like some fool. I told her I was filing for divorce and that she could take her lies and her independent attitude and shove it. I saw her face tighten, her eyes flash with anger, but I didn't care. I knew I had to make a decision then and there. I wasn't going to let her keep gaslighting me, keep convincing herself she was the victim. Honestly, I felt a weird sense of relief after that confrontation. It was like I'd finally peeled back the layers and seen her for what she really was. But at the same time, the pain was real. I was losing someone I loved, who I thought loved me. It hurt more than I expected, like a knife digging in deep. I couldn't help but wonder how many other lies she'd told, how many more secrets she was hiding. The trust was shattered, and I knew I'd have to rebuild myself from the ground up. Now I just sit here trying to process everything. I'm angry, hurt, and somehow still hopeful that I'll come out of this stronger. But I also know one thing for sure: I'll never trust her again. Not the same way. And I'll never let myself be blind again, not to the bitchy attitude hiding something much darker underneath. The aftermath hit me harder than I thought it would. The house felt empty, colder somehow, even though I still lived in it. For days after the confrontation, I barely slept or ate. All I could do was replay everything: the lies, the sneaky meetings, the texts, and wonder how I hadn't seen it all earlier. How I'd been so blind, so wrapped up in trying to save her from herself or fix the marriage. Honestly, I kept asking myself why I tolerated her bitchy attitude for so long, why I didn't see the signs sooner. I knew I had to do something practical now. Divorcing Emily wasn't just about ending things. It was about reclaiming my life, my sanity. I started collecting more evidence, digging through her phone, her emails, any traces of her sneaky side. I even hired a private investigator for my peace of mind, just to make sure I wasn't missing anything. I wasn't about to let her spin some sob story about how I was the bad guy, especially after what I found. What really pushed me over the edge was the realization that Emily hadn't just been screwing around. She'd been doing it openly, flaunting her affair with Ryan like it was some badge of honor. That bitchy attitude, that "I don't care what you think" look on her face, it all made me wonder how long she'd been planning this. I'd always been a good guy, maybe too trusting, but this was something else. I felt like a fool for ever believing she loved me. One day, I finally sat down and drafted a divorce settlement. I wanted her out of my life for good. No lingering contact, no shared assets, nothing. Just a clean break. I knew I'd have to face her bitchy outbursts, probably more lies, but I was done playing nice. I started to realize that my trust in her had been completely shattered, probably beyond repair. That realization made me feel a strange sense of relief. I could finally breathe again, knowing I didn't have to live with the constant suspicion and the pain of betrayal. But it wasn't just about ending things. There was a part of me that wanted her to hurt, to truly feel the depth of what she'd lost. She'd taken my trust, my love, and twisted it into something ugly. I thought about confronting her one last time, telling her that I knew everything, that I was moving on. But I also knew that wouldn't be enough. She was the kind of person who thrived on bullshit, on manipulation. I didn't want to give her that satisfaction. Instead, I planned quietly, making sure I had all my ducks in a row before I dropped the final bomb. Divorce papers, maybe even some proof of her affair, just so she'd know I wasn't going down without a fight. It's crazy how the mind works in moments like these. Part of me was still angry, still hurt, but another part felt oddly liberated. For so long, I'd been trying to hold everything together, hoping she'd change, hoping she'd see sense. But now I saw her for who she really was: bitchy, manipulative, unfaithful, and I realized I was better off without her. The trust was dead, the love long gone. All that was left was this bitter, cold clarity. I deserved someone who wouldn't lie, cheat, or treat me like I was disposable. So I'm here now, weighing my options. The divorce is in motion, but I'm still processing the emotional fallout. The worst part, knowing that I might be alone for a while. No more Emily, no more Ryan, no more that fake facade she put on. And honestly, I don't know if I'll ever fully trust again. But I do know I'll rebuild myself. I've realized that the only person I can truly count on is me. And that betrayal, as painful as it is, has taught me to be more cautious, more guarded. I want to move on, but I'll never forget what she did. That little bitchy attitude, that sneaky side of her, she'll have to live with that, not me anymore. It's been a few weeks since I filed for divorce, and honestly, I feel like I'm finally starting to breathe again. The house is still quiet, but there's a different kind of silence now, less tense, more peaceful. I won't lie. I still get moments where I replay everything, wonder how I missed so many signs, how I let her manipulate me for so long. That bitchy attitude she carried, her constant dismissiveness. Deep down, I think I knew she was hiding something. I just didn't want to believe it. The worst part isn't just the betrayal itself. It's the realization that I'd been so blind, so eager to see the good in her, that I ignored the red flags. I kept telling myself maybe she was stressed, maybe she was going through a rough patch, but the truth was far more brutal. She's been lying to me, cheating on me, and laughing behind my back while I was trying to fix myself. And Ryan, her so-called sponsor, was right there in the middle of it, pretending to be supportive but clearly playing his own game. That realization hit me hard. I felt used, manipulated, like I'd been played for a fool. But now I'm starting to regain my sense of self. I've been talking to a counselor, trying to process everything, and honestly, it's helping. I know I'll never fully forget what she did, but I don't want her to control my life anymore. I've realized that the only way to heal from this is to focus on myself, my recovery, my goals, my happiness. I've even started dadding again, not rushing into anything but just trying to rebuild my confidence. Sometimes I catch myself thinking about Emily and what she's doing now. I wonder if she's even feeling the sting of losing me, or if she's already onto her next game. That bitchy attitude she's got, the way she always dismisses everyone else. She's probably already moved on, pretending like nothing happened. But I don't care anymore. I know she'll carry that guilt, that regret the rest of her life. And I'm finally okay with walking away from it all. The one thing I've learned from this whole nightmare is that trust is fragile. It can break in an instant if you're not careful. But more than that, I've learned that I deserve someone who's honest, loyal, and respectful. Someone who won't call me insecure for catching her in bed with her sponsor. I want a relationship built on honesty, not manipulation. And I owe myself that much. So I'm moving forward. I'll never forget what she did, but I refuse to let it define me. I want to believe in love again, but this time I'll be more cautious. I'll know better than to ignore the warning signs. And I'll never let anyone treat me like I'm just some fool to be played. The pain will fade, but the lessons will stay with me forever. I just hope all of you out there who might be in the same boat, whether it's cheating, betrayal, or just feeling lost, remember that it's possible to rebuild. You just have to be willing to walk away from the bullshit and focus on yourself. Because at the end of the day, that's all you really have, you and your own strength to start over. Looking back now, I realize that I've been through hell, but I've also learned a lot about myself. I used to think that love was enough to keep a marriage afloat, but now I see that trust is everything. Without it, you're just holding on to something that's already broken, no matter how much you want it to work. Emily's betrayal hit me hard, more than I expected, and it hurt in ways I didn't even know I could feel. That bitchy attitude she's always worn, her lies, her manipulations, they all painted her as someone I no longer recognize or want in my life. But the biggest lesson I've taken from this is that nobody is untouchable. People can surprise you in good ways and bad. Emily was a perfect example of that. I trusted her completely, and she shattered that trust like it was nothing. What I've come to understand is that you have to be careful who you let into your life, who you give your heart to, because not everyone deserves that level of closeness. Sometimes, the ones closest to you are the ones who hurt. you the most. I've also realized that revenge isn't about hurting her back, it's about reclaiming your dignity. I wanted her to feel the pain she caused me, but ultimately I know that true strength is walking away, not stooping to her level. I've chosen to heal myself, to rebuild what she tried to destroy. That's the real victory, taking control of your life again, piece by piece. I'm not perfect and I still have bad days. I get angry, I get sad, and I wonder if I'll ever completely heal from this. But I also know that I'm capable of moving forward. I've started focusing on myself, my recovery, my happiness, my future. I refuse to let her betrayal define me anymore. And I hope that anyone reading this who might be going through something similar, whether it's betrayal, lies, or just feeling lost, knows that you can come out the other side stronger. Trust takes time to rebuild if it ever does. But the most important thing is trusting yourself, knowing your worth, setting boundaries, and never settling for less than you deserve. Emily may have been a toxic chapter in my life, but I'm determined that I won't let her poison my future. I've learned that sometimes the hardest lessons teach us the most about who we really are. And right now, I know I'm stronger than I ever thought I could be.